pretty much it's at the very top of the mountain. They clear cut the top of the mountain in sections, and there's a water source in the area, and he pretty much, we found him this summer because we decided to put cameras around the water source. And turns out he was every single day. He would go in at probably 8 to 9 in the morning, bed down somewhere right at the water source, and come back out 5, 6 in the evening, all throughout the summer, like clockwork when he was growing his antlers. So that was cool to watch him this year. So we figured like we had him where he was at in the summer, and we had never had this much intel on a deer, but we didn't know where he was going to move to in the fall. So I reached out to Steve Shirk and was like, hey, you know a lot more about big deer than I do. I'm curious, like, how much do you expect this deer to move when they change to their fall range? And he's like, well, if I remember right, he said that most people think they move farther than they actually do, which he was absolutely right in this deer. This deer hardly moved. He might have moved his bed 100 yards when he switched to his fall pattern, but he wasn't as consistent on the water and pretty much ditched the water come fall. However, we knew where he was at that point, and so we started running cameras just all around there and on scrapes and stuff. The year previous, I had this deer in my mind. He had came back as a 10-point. The one side wasn't messed up. And I was rifle hunting with a buddy right in the area. And there's kind of a cliff. It's pretty rugged to get to the top. It's about a mile up there from private access. And I was hunting with a buddy, and we were just sitting over a cliff just midday, like trying to catch something moving below us or something. And we come across the pine tree that is just shredded, and underneath it is a bed. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, what if this is the deer that I'm after? What if we're in his bedroom? And turns out this year, I didn't see him last year in the area or whatnot, but this year, with that in my mind, it was exactly where he was bedding. So till I killed him, we had him pinned down to, he was within probably a 50-yard diameter circle. We knew right where he was if he was there, which is kind of crazy.
So you think that this deer used the same bed many times?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't say 100%, but he was within 50 yards of that bed, pretty much. Yeah. Where he would bed, they let all the oaks in that clear cut. And so everything was cut except for ginormous oaks. And so he would literally spend an hour on his feet and not cover more than a 30-yard circle, just walking in circle, eating the oaks and sticking his head down in the ferns and eating the acorns, which I got to watch him one time doing it for a long time. And he gave us some really cool pictures when he was doing that too. But yeah, he wouldn't move far.
And you started getting pictures of him, it sounded like. So there was a water source in the summer, you get him on, and then from there he didn't go far. He just wasn't necessarily hitting that water source there.
So it was just so close that he really didn't have to go anywhere. He could have hiked way over to a creek or down to the bottom of the mountain, but you can't beat a water hole right on the top of the mountain, right in a clear cut.
Yeah, no, that makes a whole lot of sense. And two, so like what you're talking about your camera strategy there. So once you kind of got some daylight photos of them, is that when you started, clustering cameras around them a little bit? And you were saying some scrapes and everything. Was he laying down some big sign that made it apparent, like, this is where I need to put my cameras? Or how did you think about laying out your camera strategy?
So I decided we knew from intel that he wasn't really bumping out the west side of where he was. So We didn't focus a lot on the west side. However, on the north, actually on just the east and the south, and a little bit of the southwest, we just put like a circle, half circle or whatever, of cameras, just trying to figure out what's his entrance and exit, and just put a lot of time in scouting. And I found one location where it was like a cliff, and there was a clear deer trail going right up and down the center of it. And I was like, this is so close to his bed. He's got to be using this to go up and down. So we put cameras there, and sure enough, caught him. He would use that to go up and down. We started to get a game plan of when he would go down the mountain, when he would come up. And early season, he was on a clock. I mean, he would be up. He would go down in the evening or during the night and come up past the camera at 7:30 pretty much every morning.